Good morning and welcome to Campus Highlights. I'm Amy Willhelm and I'm here at Goshen High School with Barry I'm going to mess it up. Younghans. I'm bad at names.
That's all right.
So thanks for meeting with me this morning, Barry. Is that okay?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
Alrighty.
Please do.
I know when I've always been in the principal's office before, I needed to, say Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so.
Yeah.
So I'm here today as part of the Good of Goshen project, and Goshen Community Schools is one of the partners with Good of Goshen. And just to remind folks that Good of Goshen is a community-led storytelling project that shares what makes our town, Goshen, a vibrant small town. Yeah, and a good place to be. So, so obviously, in thinking about this, the school system is a perfect partner for the Good of Goshen because the school system touches so many families. Probably almost all families, whether it be you have a student or a child here or a grandchild, or maybe you were a teacher or whatever. So yeah, it reaches almost every family, I would say. So what I don't know if you know this for sure, but what did Goshen Community Schools, why did they think it was important to become part of the Good of Goshen project?
Well, I think for us it was about getting the good news out. We think that we do a great job educating our students, and we have data that shows that, and we have awards that show that. But for a number of years in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, that story wasn't really out there. There wasn't really a story about the good things that Goshen schools did for students and for the community. And so I think that was the original intent. But then since that time, it's really been, since Good of Goshen started, it's really been about continuing to say what the whole community has to offer. And we are a vibrant part of the community that is a vibrant community. And so for us, that was a big deal to be part of that.
Okay, all right, so it makes sense to you too. So I've noticed around town, and I've noticed the commercials and the billboards, the I Believe program that Goshen Community Schools has. Tell me a little bit more about the I Believe program.
So the I Believe program is based on, one of the things that Goshen Schools is really a foundational part of Goshen Schools is the relationship building between the students and the teachers. And trying to make sure that each kid in our whole district has somebody that cares about them. And the I Believe project really stemmed from that. It was a conversation with kids and with teachers about what they believed about Goshen schools and the connections they can make between their personal lives, their school, and their community.
Okay, because we all know that if a child is connected, they're probably going to have less problems or less issues. But if they're disconnected, that's when we get into the problems, behavior problems, and things like that.
Not just behavior problems, but academic difficulties. We find, we would tell you, research would support that kids who are connected to their schools and have a caring adult and have connections to activities, music band, athletics, clubs, academics, some art, some reason to be connected to our schools. They do better in school, and they literally have a better experience and more learning opportunities.
Okay, that's good. And I know we have so many former teachers and former administrators on the Greencroft Goshen campus, and I would say they probably would totally agree with that. And whether it was a formalized program like I Believe is, but that's good because I've seen the commercials, but I didn't know exactly what the connection was. So, well, now I'm gonna just ask you a little bit about you too, and see if you have any alumni friends at Goshen or at Greencroft. Where'd you go to college?
So I went to Valparaiso University.
Okay.
I have lived in Goshen since 1988.
Wow.
Married a Goshen kid. Still married to this day to her.
Okay.
Lived 10 houses down from where she grew up on 8th Street.
Oh my.
So I was telling you earlier, I spent a lot of time on your campus. Probably a couple times a month I walk through just because that's one of my walking routes that I go.
We have a nice walking
You
route, don't
have
we?
you have great places to walk. I have done lots of stuff in Goshen.
Mhm.
I have been an assistant principal at Goshen Middle School, a teacher,
Okay.
principal at Chandler Elementary,
Mhm.
and assistant superintendent and director of support services in the central office.
Mhm.
And then I came over to this is my 6th year as high school principal. My
Okay.
kids are all graduates of Goshen High School.
Okay.
And I actually took my teaching license is actually from Goshen College.
Okay.
So I have some connections to several things.
Okay. Well, absolutely. It sounds like you're very connected to Goshen.
Very much so.
Yes.
Can't imagine. In fact, in season 1 of Good of Goshen, I was a story. I was actually a video. My son was quite sick, had a heart transplant at 17,
Oh,
and so
okay.
they came to talk to us about the way the city, the community rallied around my son.
Oh, wow.
It was very cool.
Okay. Wow. And he's okay now?
Oh yeah. Teaches here.
He does?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Get married in next winter, and
Okay.
yeah, everything's great.
That's awesome. You know, I think I remember that. What year was that?
2000, and he was actually transplanted in 2000, and this is year 6, 2012.
Okay.
So 2010, I think he was diagnosed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So, obviously.
Sorry,
things
did I throw you for a loop there again?
No. That was good. I was just thinking, obviously, things have changed
Oh,
over
yeah.
the
Oh,
years. You know, teaching's probably a little bit different than it used to
Much
be.
different. Much
Isn't it?
different, yeah.
So, I'm gonna jump ahead just a little bit. Give us an idea of how teaching has changed, and you said you moved here in '88. Was that your first teaching?
That was my first teaching job.
So that's what,
It's 30
30
years ago.
years. How's it
30 years
changed
ago.
in 30 years?
Oh, it's significantly different. So I think we know more about what teaching is. We know more about what good teaching looks like and is.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be teachers drove the knowledge that it was the sage on the stage.
Mhm.
Teachers did all the talking.
Mm-hmm.
Now when I go into a classroom, if the teacher's doing all the talking, it seems to me the teacher's also probably doing all the thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really want that. We want
Right.
the kids doing the thinking.
Right.
So we spend a lot of time, there's a lot more professional development spent on how to engage students in the lesson,
Mm-hmm.
how to engage students in the material, how to get them to actually learn. You used to be able to do, we called them the kind of independent contractors. You could shut your door and kind of teach what you wanted to teach
Mhm.
and cover what you wanted to cover. And now we have things called common assessments where we expect kids to, whether you as a teacher or me as a teacher, the material should be the same.
Mm-hmm.
You should come out with the same skill sets, the same kind of knowledge base.
Okay.
That's a huge difference. Teachers work together more closely now. I think that's how teaching has changed. I think education has changed because I think when I started, I was right at the end of what we would have called the industrial model.
Mm-hmm.
We would have sorted kids.
Mm-hmm.
Certain kids needed to get a high school education, certain kids were allowed to drop out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's no longer the case. Every kid deserves that opportunity now, and so we no longer sort kids for different skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
We literally say to every kid, you can do whatever you want,
Mm-hmm.
and it's our job to help you get there.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes, like, for example, we have international baccalaureate classes, which are the hardest classes that we offer, and it's an internationally known curriculum and pretty high standards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have kids who are BC students here who try to take those courses and do quite well.
Wow.
We open that up to all kids, so any
Mhm.
kid who wants to try can do those things.
Okay.
I would say one other thing that's different is, and this is hard to wrap your head around unless you've been in education. But you know, everybody talks about dropouts and how few kids graduate and what a problem that is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think back to my education, I think back to my high school. I graduated in 1982, and I think back to the education of my siblings who were older than me. And I think, you know, we weren't graduating anywhere near 90% of kids in those days. If a female got pregnant, she didn't finish.
Mhm.
If a kid was from poverty and they needed to go get a job, they didn't finish. They had jobs that they could go get,
Right.
including my own parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I think when we talk about 95%, like at Goshen High School, we graduate between, every year that I've been here and in the last 15 years, we've graduated between 85 and 90% of our students. And so when you think about that and you think about how that's changed, I guarantee you in the 70s we were graduating 85% of our kids.
Mhm.
You just didn't know about it because
Right.
those kids left and they just went and they went in the business world and they went to work at a factory and they had their
Mhm.
jobs.
Mhm.
Well, now we all know that some of those jobs don't exist anymore.
Right.
And so the push to graduate more students, that's definitely changing education.
Yeah. Now, that leads me to think about the fact that not all students are intended for college.
Correct.
And so I know that in having a student here myself,
Mhm.
that college is really promoted,
Absolutely.
but that not every student
Absolutely.
is college material. And so what are you guys doing to help promote those kids who are more skilled trades?
Sure. So we send about, don't quote me on this number, but I think it's about 100 students to the Career Center every year.
Mhm.
Those are often hands-on tasks, everything from cosmetology and welding to veterinary technician.
Mhm.
So we have lots of options for those kids. We are getting ready to add advanced manufacturing to our curriculum here at Goshen High
Now,
School.
what would
So
that be?
kids will come out with a advanced manufacturing certification, which will allow them, like when you talk to people like at Bentler and Lippert and those places, it will allow them to walk into higher paying jobs off the high school, right out of high school going into
Okay.
those jobs.
That's good.
We have computer repair classes where kids earn certifications here in school.
Mm-hmm.
We have building trades where students actually get a handle on, they actually build a house. They've done so, I want to say this is like the 48th year we've built a house.
Mm-hmm.
So those would all be hands-on activities that our students can come out with certifications in many of those areas,
Mm-hmm.
which allow them to go directly into the world of work. The other thing we're doing is we are part of the governor's work ethic certificate
Mhm.
group. And if kids do certain things here, they walk out with what's called a work ethic certificate, which also prepares them.
Hmm.
So if you earn a work ethic certificate, you go to different employers, and the employers will give kids bonuses. They will give kids additional sick days. They will give kids higher starting wage. They'll guarantee them interviews. Those are all things that come with that. And so we get that kids need to be prepared for work
Mm-hmm.
as well as college.
Right.
So we're working on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably, and just last week we had our first career fair where we literally had businesses come in
Mm-hmm.
and say, this is how we'll train you.
Mm-hmm.
We had Niblock come in and say, this is what we'll get you your journeyman's license if you want to do these things with us.
Really? Wow.
We had everything from people, literally Martin's was here saying, this is how we pay scholarship for our people who want to be trained in culinary arts.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other things that we're trying to reach out to kids
Yeah.
to give them options.
Because that's good, because,
Excuse me.
I mean, I went to college and graduated, and fortunately, I have a career in a very similar field to what I studied. But that's not always the
No.
case. So many times
No.
students go, they get this degree, they spend all this money, they come out in debt, can't find a job.
Well,
You know, and
I think too, the college debt is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
We have people who come out, and I'll use a perfect example. So we have social workers, and we have kids who want to go to social worker, go into social work, but they go to private schools or to public schools to get those.
Mm-hmm.
They come out with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, or teaching actually is getting at that point now, and their starting salary is $34,000.
Right. Yeah, they're not
And
gonna
you can't
pay that off.
raise a family, pay off your debts, and live on $34,000, even in a little town like Goshen,
Right.
let alone if you lived in India or Fort Wayne or Chicago.
Mhm.
So that's another reason why we have to continue to prepare kids for other options.
Right. Well, that's exciting. I'm glad to hear that you guys are looking at that. And I know you are partner in another program called the ICE program.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about what that stands for and what that program's about.
Interdisciplinary Cooperative Education is ICE, and ICE literally is internships, job shadowing, where kids can go out into the community and have experiences in career fields that they're interested in. We have kids it's actually interesting, because we have students who sometimes go into thinking, well, I really want to do this. And they go out and they spend six weeks or 10 weeks or 18 weeks following somebody around there going, man, I don't want to do that job. I can't do that job, and I don't want to do that job. So we get those, and then we get the kid who kind of gets maybe in a place they're not sure they want to do. They want to experience it, and they say, I think I can do that. You know, we send kids to the hospital. We have literally kids all over town. They do everything from like cadet teaching experiences where they go to elementary schools, all the way through to we have people who go watch knee surgeries and knee replacements and nurses and babies being born, and they have wonderful experiences. So
we even have some at
you
Greencroft.
absolutely have some.
I don't know if we have any this year, but
you would have probably some CNA kids. That's another thing where our kids can get certifications and get CNA certified nurse assistants, and they can do that.
Okay.
So I'm sure we have kids who do that. We often have kids who work in your dining. Your dining area.
So some of you may have been certified.
I am absolutely certain some of them would have been.
Right.
For sure.
Okay. So that's another good program. I think. You know, my daughter's been involved in the Career Center and went into culinary arts thinking that's what she wanted to do with baking and cake decorating and all of that. She soon learned.
Oh, absolutely.
That's not what she wanted.
And wouldn't you rather have them learn in high school rather than learn on a $40,000 college tuition?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, so that from personal experience, that has been a very good learning tool for her and cost savings for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell me, how many students do you have here in Goshen, in the high school?
So we have 19, I think the last time I looked it was 1,968 students, just short of 2,000.
It's like at Greencroft, you never know, give or take.
That's exactly right, and literally it changes daily.
Oh, I know.
We'll have students who enroll and students who move and transfer and students who move in. We have a little over 6,000 students in the district. Wow. We have one high school. We send some of our students to Merritt, which is an alternative setting, which is a really good place for a lot of our kids. We have some kids who just thrive there because it's self-paced. And then we have Goshen Online Academy, where we send another 70 kids students who, for whatever reason, it's generically homeschooling. They literally check in a couple times a week. But they can do all their coursework online and can do it from home.
Okay, all right. So you said around 1,900 or so. And so then how many teachers and staff do you have?
So there's 135 certified staff members at Goshen High School.
Okay.
Some of them are not full-time. Like I have several moms who are 60% employees, so they share jobs.
Oh, okay.
There are 5 administrators. There are 4 guidance counselors, and those all count in my certified staff. I honestly have never added up the entire staff. We have custodial duties, responsibilities that go 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. We have a slew of support staff in terms of secretaries, and we have a whole bunch of E&L collaborators, English as New Language collaborators, teachers who help, co-teachers who help students who speak languages other than English. We have a whole bunch of special education paraprofessionals who help students with learning difficulties. We have a psychologist, we have a social worker, we have speech therapists.
Not to forget the lunch ladies.
Not to forget the lunch ladies, and there are, actually she's in need of them. There's probably, I want to say there's probably 20 of them.
Wow.
You know, we feed 1,900 kids lunch every day.
Oh my goodness.
And actually we feed them
breakfast
and afternoon snack. We feed several hundred kids afternoon snack.
Wow. If anybody's looking for a part-time job.
We also have crossing guards, we have bus drivers. You know, we have a ton of people that work here. Those are people that I come in contact pretty much daily.
Right.
I would guess, I mean, just randomly, there's probably, there's well over 200 people that make their living at Goshen.
Oh, sure. So that is a huge part of Goshen's
absolutely.
Economy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that was just a trivia question there to see if you knew the answers.
I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to the total number. I really don't.
That's okay.
I really don't.
So in this day and age, many students and parents they struggle with this and are fearful of bullying.
Yeah.
And that is so, bullying has changed so
Yeah.
much from the time that we were in school, where someone just pushed you in the hall or whatnot. Now it's a lot of it's online.
Yep. Yep.
And what is Goshen doing to help
Yeah, so
diffuse that?
I talked to you earlier about our philosophy about knowing each kid.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we do, we have a process, we call it SRT, it's student resource time.
Mm-hmm.
And when a kid comes in as a freshman, they're assigned an SRT teacher, and that teacher stays with them for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is, because of our size, we want at least one adult in the building who knows everything about the kid, can help guide them. So when you talk to me about bullying, when I talk about bullying, I talk about the best thing we can do for our kids is know them.
Mm-hmm.
They have to feel safe here.
Mm-hmm.
And so we spend a lot of emotional energy trying to make connections with kids to make sure they know they're safe. So when that stuff happens, because literally we can't be everywhere, we don't see everything.
Right.
But what we do is we work really hard to make sure kids know that they can report it,
Mm-hmm.
who to report it to, and that we take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in our building, I feel really pretty positive about where we are with our bullying and what we see. Our teachers in the hallway a lot, I'm in the hallway a lot, the administrators are in the hallway a lot. We have, I think if you ask most kids in a big building like this, they wouldn't necessarily know the administrative team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you ask most of our kids, they would know the assistant principals and myself. They would know, they would certainly say they see us in the halls.
Right.
So we spend a lot of time in that. I would say an issue that I don't think anybody really can get a handle on is what the kids do online.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are aware of that, and I think kids are pretty good about reporting that to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it is an everyday thing for every kid,
Mm-hmm.
but literally, there are kids who, because it's anonymous, because they think they can say things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's honestly, it's really hard to track, because you may say it and I may retweet it, and eventually it gets to the person,
Mm-hmm.
and it may take 5 days to get there.
And then it's
And
hard
it's
to
hard to track back to
Right.
who actually started it. But part of what we also try to do is educate students about the use of technology.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we have instances where we know who's involved,
Mm-hmm.
we literally spend lots of time teaching kids about, the stuff you post is out there forever.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff you say. Now, what I will say, taking a big giant step back, the issue's as big, if not bigger, with adults.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't call it bullying. We call it inappropriate behavior on the internet. Go
Right.
read a Twitter feed. And I just was listening to research yesterday. Something like fake Twitter feeds, lies on Twitter, are 70% more likely to get retweeted than truths.
Because they're juicier.
Because they're juicier.
Yeah.
And so I think that, we live at a pretty unique time when it's pretty okay to be mean to people in a lot of different settings.
Right.
And so what we try to do, because I think we're an educational institution,
Mm-hmm.
so we try to turn all of those things into learning opportunities for kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we punish kids, and we eventually suspend them from school for bullying and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's really about how you treat people.
Right.
And whether you say that, whether you hide behind a Twitter feed or a Facebook post,
Mm-hmm.
or whether you come right out and say it to them in the hallway,
Mm-hmm.
it's not okay. You just,
Right.
you just don't. You're not rude to other people.
Right.
You're not disrespectful to them. So we work hard at that.
Mm-hmm.
We would all be lying to you. I think any high school in the country that would tell you they weren't concerned about that is
Right.
lying.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it is not. We don't get daily complaints from students about bullying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's pervasive. I think it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I think probably the other thing is I think it also happens sometimes to needy kids
Mm-hmm.
because they haven't figured out some of the coping skills to and I certainly don't want to blame the victims.
Right.
But they, kids who kind of figure out ways to block and not to respond and not to make it worse. And
Right.
sometimes that stuff just runs a natural course and a week later it's gone and nobody ever thinks about it
Right.
again.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it stays up, if it's boyfriend, girlfriend stuff, that stuff just doesn't go away quickly. And so
Right.
literally, we just have to teach kids how to deal and respond in those
Cope.
situations. That's
Because,
exactly.
I mean, it's gonna be out there even as an adult.
Absolutely.
And so they need to learn how to
Absolutely.
deal with it in a productive, healthy way, so that.
And we live at a time, I don't remember a time when it's been as divisive, when things that have been allowed to be said have been as divisive as they have been recently.
Yes.
And that's not okay. I mean, we have to teach kids that, like, it's not
Right.
okay to do that.
Right.
It's not okay to be rude to people, whether you're online or whether you say it face to face or whether you do it on a
Exactly.
phone call. You
Right.
just don't treat people like that.
That's exactly right.
So we
Well, I'm glad to hear you're still teaching that.
we try,
But, and I know you're up against the, if it's not taught at home, and not reinforced at home, you're probably up against that some too.
Well, I think, yes, but I think that's also a cop-out. I mean, they don't get algebra at home either,
Yeah.
we have to teach them algebra, they don't all learn to write well at home, and we teach them that too.
Sure.
So, it's just another part, it's just another thing that we are responsible to try to help with, that I don't think, you asked one of your early questions, how's education going to change? I think some of those kinds of things, how you, social awareness, those kinds of things were not part of anybody, they weren't on anybody's radar in the 80s.
Right.
Now that's literally something we spend time talking about. We talk about, and we don't have a class on, how you treat people, but
Right.
literally when it comes to our desks, to our teachers, they spend time working with them.
Sure.
They work really hard to create safe environments, I remember in my own classes, when a kid made a mistake on the board, students would laugh. I mean, literally, in our setting now, that just doesn't happen. I mean, our teachers literally get on kids.
Good.
This is a safe place. This is a learning place. When you learn, you make errors.
Yeah, exactly.
It has to be safe for kids. There's a part about taking academic risks that students have to be comfortable doing, and our teachers have to cultivate that in every classroom.
That's good. Another thing that's changed too is that students here at Goshen have laptops
Yeah,
versus textbooks.
yeah.
Now, they're not any lighter, the book bags are still heavy.
I think they're heavier.
They are.
I think they
I'm
are.
like, what are you carrying in this book bag?
They
And
are.
it's computer.
Uh-huh.
So, shoot, in the 80s, even in the 80s, we didn't even think about carrying a computer around with us.
No.
So has that, that's probably helped with some learning and all of that.
Again, I would tell you that I think that in itself has changed education. So if I'm a teacher and I'm asking questions that can be easily answered by Google, then why am I asking that question? Because honestly, when I talk to my mother-in-law, who's 20 years older than me, and we talk about that, she's frustrated. There's a certain amount of facts that kids just don't know, and I get that, and I'm kind of on the edge of that. I kind of get that I think there's certain things that every student, every adult should just know, but people don't.
Right.
But there's also a side of me that says, that's not going to go away. The Google machine is not going to suddenly disappear, right?
Right.
You're going to have access to that information. And so when you ask kids and you want kids to think, you have to ask them to compare things. You have to ask them to do things with that knowledge. Just asking when was the Civil War, like, I think everybody should know that. I think you should at least be able to get it in the context of U.S. history.
At least the right decade,
exactly,
maybe.
Right, exactly. I think you should know that. But the kids think, when's the Civil War? I type that in.
Google it.
U.S. Civil
Yes.
War, and I get it. And they probably get more information than they could get in 2 minutes of Googling, probably
Right.
than what they could get in half a semester of class
Yeah.
if they want to take time to read.
Right.
So I think it's changed in that way. I think sometimes for the better. I think they can be a huge distraction for our kids. Because they can get anything they want to get to. We have filters here, of course,
Right.
but I mean, literally, when they take those machines home, if their parents have internet, they literally can do anything on those machines they want to do. That's a positive thing and a negative thing.
Sure,
They can sit up all night and watch YouTube videos on how to jet ski, right?
Yes.
Like they can see that.
Yeah.
But they can also do really cool stuff. Really, you know, we have some amazing artists. They do amazing things with their digital photography. You know, that kind of stuff wasn't available. I mean, that wasn't even available. Our teachers didn't even. Our teachers who are trained, who are actually teaching that, are self-taught in it. You know, that didn't exist when they were in school.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's kind of amazing. They do amazing video. They do amazing, you know, the things we do on our GTV. Pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's
been a positive and a negative. It has been. It has been.
Yeah.
It has been.
Well, to kind of wrap up, you know, how can residents that maybe want to be involved, how could they get involved to help promote the good of Goshen through Goshen Community Schools?
Well, so I know that the elementary schools have reading camps and Real Men Read, things like that, where they can literally go in and read to elementary students. You know, at Goshen High School, probably some things you can do that wouldn't have anything to do with supporting our students, with helping our students, but are really supporting of things, is come to our activities. You know, come to our musical just this past weekend.
Right.
Was outstanding. I mean, it's as good as any summer stock musical that you're going to see anywhere. Come support our kids when we have activities, when we are. I'm thinking about things like our fundraisers. You know, show up and when we have, you know, pancake breakfast for Miles for Music, or you know, there's things that you can do that don't really take any time other than just showing up.
Right.
Come watch a high school basketball game, see what it's like.
Yeah.
You know, there are things like that I think kids notice when that happens. And you know, we have lots of really, like right now we have a group of students who are gathering bottle caps to create benches. You know, that it's a pretty insignificant thing, and we're probably guilty because we probably don't reach out to Greencroft either.
Yeah.
But those are kinds of things where, you know, it wouldn't take much, and we probably should be informed when Greencroft has stuff like that going on too.
Sure. Yeah.
We have one other thing I would say about our kids, really pretty philanthropic. They do a lot of good things for lots of people. Ringing bells, you know, Picasso work, those kinds of things. You know, that kind of stuff. Pack food boxes for families. You know, those kinds of things happen, and I would think just being involved and being the ability to support those kinds of organizations, those groups, be a really positive thing.
Okay, that's good. And the other thing I would encourage you is to maybe encourage some of your students and staff to get on the Good of Goshen website and tell their stories as educators, because I think folks are really discovering the Good of Goshen website and are really intrigued by some of these stories.
So recently, I can think of two. We had Jason Barahona, who is the youth council rep on the city council. He's from Goshen High School. And Hannah Kurtz, who is a two-sport athlete for us. Has been involved in stuff here at Goshen High School. They were both stories on the Good of Goshen website. We've had teachers. Recently we had Hank Moore, one of our calculus math teachers, mentor teacher. He was on.
So they are sharing their stories.
They're sharing their stories.
That's
but I would agree. There's lots of other stories that we can have. So.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. I'm sure you have plenty of other things to do today. You've probably seen students going back and forth while we're talking, and so I'm sure you've got to go track a few of them down today. Right?
Not for bad news though. Usually pretty good news. That's one nice thing about my job. I get to deliver good news. I have assistant principals who deliver bad news.
Okay, that's good. Things have changed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they have.
Because the principal used to be the bad guy.
I know. I try not to be the bad guy anymore than I have to be.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking more about what Goshen Community Schools is doing to make Goshen great.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Join us again next week on Campus Highlights. Thanks a lot.